Whenever we think for next level of it, so something comes always in the mind, and it's very confusing actually. So let's talk something, and we got a lady here. Probably she can help us to overcome this confusion. And I like to call Vinu Grover for this discussion. Vinu, please join me. Give a big round of applause. Hi. Vinu, we have keep talking, interacting, I think past 5-6 years? Absolutely. Right. So Vinu is holding a company, and this company is a search company, and they help to see functions level. And why don't you, Vinu, introduce yourself and your company, what you do?
Thank you, Kapil. Am I audible? Okay. I must compliment the organizers as well for having such an interesting kind of a panel subject, life after CIO. Before I talk about that, I'll just introduce myself. I have had a long stint in IT. I have worked with different companies for over 15 years in India and in the US before I moved into executive search. And it did not happen by default. It happened by design. It's an area I enjoy doing, and I have been into this for over 8 years now. I work only with IT companies in the IT sector, which I find very large itself to take care of. So we do executive search, we do executive coaching, and a lot of personality development sessions around it, all designed around executives and people who are at the C-level and they're reporting to that. Coming to the subject, the panel discussion of today, when Kapil mentioned to me about life after CIO, the first thing that came to my mind was a line from a very famous author, Richard Bach. Many of you may have heard of it. What the larva calls the end of the world, the master calls it a butterfly. So there is no larva ending here, but definitely I think there is a butterfly, the birth of which is imminent. There are a lot of opportunities we are talking about, and particularly in the context because technology, I think, has changed the way businesses are being run, and it has come as the biggest disruptor. So a lot of spotlight suddenly is on the people who are closest to technology in the company, which means the CIO or the head of IT, who we traditionally used to call. So it's a great time. The spotlight is on you, on the CIOs, all of them. And there are humongous opportunities around. Now, yes, for those opportunities, you are being looked at. The CIOs are the front runner. But it really happens or not, then the paradigm changes. Because the technical know-how or the knowledge does make you a lot eligible for the opportunities which are opening up. But does that mean that you are the right choice or you're the first choice? No, because then there are a lot of things around which we start looking at. And I think we'll talk about it as we go on, how we go about the selection. And from this side of the table, How does the selection look like? I can give you a preview of that.
Yeah, so one question hearing after you, like it's coming in my mind. Being a CIO, like how I can look for the next role. So this answer I'm expecting from Anuj Gulati. He's with us. Anuj, why don't you join us? Thanks for coming. Thank you. Please. Friends, Anuj is the CEO of Religare Health Insurance, and I keep bugging him past few days. And thanks for coming here, Anuj, joining us. Yeah. I look Anuj for a perspective actually. He has very good, background of it. He have been entrepreneur. He have been played various roles, and he is holding a currently CEO role. So as a CIO, if I'm looking for next role, I really admire. I really learn from Anuj how he is basically have done miracle in his life. I really want to hear this story from your mouth.
First, thank you so much for this opportunity and for having me over this afternoon. What you just said is a lot of pressure, right? And but I'm going to be candid. I was an entrepreneur. I was running my own. I set up my own business, which was meant to be a B2B internet play in a certain industry segment. We couldn't scale that business up. And as a result, I had to get back to working in a professional organization again. And at that stage, I can tell you there were essentially, I had an option to go back to my previous job where I was doing finance and accounting, or I had an option to join a BPO company because that was a sunrise business at that stage. This was early 2001, 2002 time. Or insurance was just about taking off in India, and an opportunity came along where I could join an insurance company. And I just, something told me that this would make this. I mean, this is a sunrise business, and it just seems more. And I actually went and spent. I mean, this is not something I talk about too much. I actually went and spent a day in the BPO company, and I said, for some reason, I felt this is not for me. So I was just more comfortable with the people at the insurance company that I joined, and I started working with them. I joined the insurance business to do a product management role, and within a year, we decided to go retail. And the moment we decided to go, and we started our retail business, and we figured that we weren't being able to scale up because it's a very high volume, low ticket business, the non-life business, and we realized that we didn't have our process and technology in place. And that's when I was told to look at the technology piece and start building out the operations and technology piece. And so I spent almost 6 years growing into that role where we, in fact, we built out that whole retail business, supported the build out of the rural business, the corporate business, and so on and so forth. And along the way, I mean, it was a huge the experience I got through that whole journey of building out the institution. And as as one of our colleagues was just speaking about, when you're in a technology role, you get to see the nuts and bolts of the company, right? You get to see the real operating processes of the company, the risk processes within the company. You get to know a lot of people. You build some very, very key relationships along the way. So that was I still believe that in some ways I was blessed that I got an opportunity to work in that part of the insurance business, right? Because a lot of senior people don't very often get exposed to the operating processes. And the moment you understand the operating processes well, your ability to go out, and now in my current role when I meet distributors, customers a lot, ability to there and then be able to undercommit and over-deliver, ability to be able to very often be able to, close the discussion there and then versus leave it open or make commitments which you would never be able to fulfill. Some of those pieces come along, are just ingrained. I understand that intuitively, given the role one had been through. I think more importantly,
right.
As I went through that phase, and in this case, as I moved out of my previous organization, so I was hired to start this insurance company. So I was technically employee number one, and we built it up from there over the last 5 years. The one thing we said, which will stay with this company for the next 100 years, will be its technology architecture. A lot of us will come and go.
Very right.
A lot of people will come and go. But the only thing that will stay is the technology architecture. So how do we spend time, energy, domain knowledge, and so on and so forth in one laying down the architecture? Having been through the journey again, one of the things one realized was it's one thing to be able to start. Now the technology architecture itself evolves. But the other piece is you have to be able to set some principles around which you maintain some governance related principles around which you're able to maintain quality, you are able to sustain that whole technology architecture, right? And a lot of those decisions have to have to be made by business, right? The technology guy will say that I can't do 3 releases in a month, right? The business guys will say that my business is scaling up very rapidly. my time to market is more important. So at that stage, having been through that journey, ability to very often take trade-offs, to understand the trade-offs on both sides and to be able to take some of those decisions come naturally at this stage. So in a lot of ways, and I, at the heart of, when I run a health insurance business now, at the heart of it, I think this business, the real value in this business is the knowledge, is the data that we have on our customers, on their policy, claim, and so on and so forth, and how we are able to use that data and mine that data. A lot of it is around the technology architecture and how you are being able to capture that data and utilize that data appropriately. So in that sense, I believe that in the roles that each one of us is in now, technology is key to our businesses. I very often say that technology, innovation, and strategy go hand in hand. And that is, if the chief strategy officer does not understand technology, the head of innovation does not understand technology, and rather in our organization, actually it's the head of technology who leads strategy and innovation both. Because a lot of innovation really comes out after strategy. Product differentiation in most businesses are not sustainable. It's the process and technology related innovations where you have your real competitive advantage. So the moment you marry innovation and strategy with the technology role, there's significant advantage you get in the marketplace. So that's something. The last, it's the point I want to leave with each one of you, and which has been a big learning for me as well. There are many skills needed to be a successful CIO, but the one skill, the one quality I personally have learned to respect a lot, is just that ability to listen and ability to create an environment where you make people comfortable to walk up and talk to you.
Excellent. Yeah.
Right? Because I can tell you, if this is the place where innovation happens, if this is where strategy gets made, and a lot of that, and all the knowledge is there within your enterprise. It's your inability to capture it, distill it, and then be able to influence the larger ecosystem around you, basis which you are able to force the business decisions in the right direction. So a lot of it is about our inability, and a lot of those people might not be able to communicate, may not be able to articulate appropriately, in what is thought to be commonly as appropriate. But your ability to very often capture, because a lot of those people are speaking, what is affecting their business. And the moment you capture that knowledge, your ability then to be able to put it through process technology and make it scalable within your enterprise is really what running a business is about. Right?
Right. So Anuj, this is leading another question in my mind. How CIOs can be a good strategist, and how CIO can be a good entrepreneur. So we got a friend here, Pradeep Yadav. I like to call him on the stage to answer this. Welcome, Mr. Pradeep.
Good evening, everyone, and I'm really thankful to Interop to give us this opportunity to share some of our life journey experience with you. The question is very critical, because we all have been the CIO. As far as I am concerned, I started my career in 1988 when I was a research engineer at NASA Goddard Base after doing my graduation from Duke University in US. Then I worked with a speech lab, moved to India in 91, worked with TCS, Paro Systems, and I was the CIO long time back. But then as a CIO, we enjoy our life because we really know each and every part of the organization. We know what is the MIS needed, what is the process required for a CMO office or for a Chief Service Delivery office, for that matter, for your customer service division and everything. So you basically as a CIO, you have a total perspective of the organization. So that way I consider CIO to be the most lucky person in any organization because they are one of the most knowledgeable batch, most knowledgeable individual who knows everything inside out. He will be knowing the processes of the organization, processes of every department, as well as the customer facing application. So you know what is the customer facing processes. In-house, then you know all the ERP processes. So CIO are very learned, and most of the CIO, as I know, they are very learned people. And I was the top 100 CIO for India for last 3-4 years, so I know a lot of people here. Last year I was also top CIO Asia 100 in Singapore. So that is the point when I realized that we have done a lot of CIO role and it is something beyond. So there was a craving within me to see what can be done more. And as in India, I had the opportunity to work with Hutch as a CIO. Then I was with Vodafone, Videocon, and then JT Telecom, which was my last organization. So as you correctly said, then I saw some transformation happening within India. And one particular thing I would love to share with this group of colleagues here. India is becoming the hotbed for the next generation application. And there I came across meeting a lot of organizations coming from the developed nations who were talking about machine to machine. So earlier I just struggled. I thought machine to machine, what is rubbish? Somebody said, just like we human have a Facebook, we are going to have a Facebook for machine. And machine will tell about their status. Let's talk about generator. It will tell me, hey, my temperature is very high, so please make sure my oiling is proper and all this thing. So earlier I struggled. I said, what rubbish? Because earlier there were no network in India also. But thanks to the telecom revolution, today India really boasts one of the best networks. Everything can be connected. Every device can be connected.
Right.
And that, Kapil, excited me. Why not let us look machine to machine? Then somebody told me, hey, this is $36 billion opportunity worldwide. And the major chunk is going to come in India. So I thought, why not? Let us be part of it. Because a couple years back, I remember Mr. Devang Mehta in 1999, I met him.
Right.
And he said the IT-enabled service is a $18 billion opportunity. So 99 people thought, no, it cannot be. It is exaggeration. But it was. And I am thankful to that this Gurgaon became Gurgaon because of that IT-enabled revolution. Because I also am part of a NGO, High Tech India, which was part of formation of Gurgaon at that point of time. So I saw that thing happening. So similarly, I am a firm believer that the connected world is a reality. And that was the reason. It was enough convincing story. So I thought, let's see. So what it can do, connected world. I will take one more minute just to explain few applications. You have an electric meter. That dumb meter is just sleeping. For end of the month, somebody comes, just takes the reading and go. But one simple application, there is an optical port. And if you put a small device, which is just like 5 paisa coin of the old era, that size, you just plug it in with a small SIM card. And the connectivity cost of the SIM to send all the data of the reading every minute is not more than 15 rupees a month. And there is a website. Okay, we have created again an ecosystem. I like Tanuj very well when he said, what you create if you have a good structured, architected application, then not only a meter data, a data from a car, a data from a generator, all kinds of devices I can take to the web. And luckily today web is very cheap. You don't have to host any server. You don't have to buy any server. It's all third party. Okay. So network is third party by the telecom operator. So you simply plug in an embedded application, put it on the smart meter, and then every meter data is there. And it will also tell you when you are on the DG. So then on my mobile, handset, I exactly know what is going on in my house. And I am on DG, I will get a small tweet. And then I see my load. Oh boy, this shows that I have 6 AC running. So I know that my son is little, all the time turn on things and is little frugal and not so careful about the energy. So I can really call and tell him, hey, you please shut down the AC. And this kind of energy saving can be 15 to 22%. And I am telling you the bigger fight in India which is happening, every chief minister saying, well, I will try to make state energy efficient. This is a small step, but it is a sure step. And how it is happening? Because the learning of the telecom is being inducted into IT. So I saw that application. Then I saw car tracking. These days the car are coming with OBD port.
Right.
And there is a little port in every car after 2007, which is the international standard. You plug in a small adapter, it will give you all the data, accurate data. And actually you will be surprised to know that car is such an old business that a lot of dashboard devices are coming from traditional, the same old fuel meter. But if you pick out from OBD, and fuel has a very accurate sensor, but the display devices has not been upgraded. So what will be the typical accuracy when you get a car fuel pump, you get some fueling at the car, you will know, okay, maybe 4 liter, 5 liter plus minus. You don't have accurate way to know that you had a 5.2 liter and now you got 20 liter filled 20.2, so it becomes 25.4. But if you take a little OBD and a small embedded application and a small display, it will accurately tell you if your petrol pump guy is doing funny thing with you.
Very interesting.
So this is another thing. So similarly, remote infrastructure. So n number of things. So when I saw this opportunity, so I slowly I became one of the follower of Facebook for the devices. And I think it will become a true reality. And I think some of us CIO will take the plunge, will be a startup, and will take the risk, because when you are a CIO, normally the salary is good. So if somebody says, hey, you want to venture, sometimes even vendor comes to you, this is a good product, why don't you do tie-up and then give us, guide us. So a lot of hitch is there. But I think in India, scenarios are changing. There is a lot of funding available.
I will request you, let's get this answer from
Sure.
Vinu,
so this is in a nutshell I wanted to share. Yeah.
So Vinu is here so we have a search CEO, we have a real CEO, we have an entrepreneur with us. So I like to hear from Vinu, how difficult for the companies to choosing a person? And what qualities they are looking for?
For the level of a CEO?
Yeah, C-level.
Okay. I think, like we are talking about it, because of the digital revolution, the opportunities are humongous. And what I'm going to share with you, because I have been fortunate enough to talk to over 1,000 leaders in the last 8 years. And when I talk about leaders, I'm talking about CEOs from either side. Either we are selecting one or we are talking to one, figuring out what the requirement is. And the opportunities today are such phenomenal because of the digital space and life after CIO, if we are talking about. I think yesterday there was some discussion that CIOs can move to a CEO role, but somebody, I think Dipali from Mahindra mentioned that the opportunities are restricted to IT companies or companies in the e-commerce area, which I wouldn't agree with, because what I have found that there are enough number of CIOs who are extremely successful in companies which are not traditionally technology companies. There are entertainment media companies, there is a stock exchange, there are a number of companies where the CIOs have graduated to being a CEO. So the question is, you are not, I would say CIO is not straitjacketed into a CEO role. The question is, when a company or a board or a promoter looks for a CEO, how do they talk to me? Do they tell me that get us a CIO? No, they don't tell me that. Now, where do you get the CEO from who's not been a CEO before? So, we look, let me explain to you how we go about something interesting in insider sharing. We do a multi-tiered mapping, which means, for example, a pharmaceutical company, they ask us to look for a CEO for them. The tier 1 would be where we look at their competitors. We are in the business of looking for passive people who are not hunting out for a job, so we headhunt them. So we look for people in the pharmaceutical business who are doing a great job. Somebody who's at the level of a COO, who is probably heading the sales, or who's heading marketing, or who's heading information technology. It could be any, but who's doing a great job in the similar domain. The other could be looking at people who are in the stakeholder domain. For example, there are clients and there are vendors and there are suppliers to a pharmaceutical company. So those people understand the ecosystem. And the last tier would be where people are totally from a different domain, telecom or FMCG or any other. We check with the company, are you open to all the tiers of mapping? Or do you want to stick to a person with a pharmaceutical background? A lot of times, when I say a lot of times, over 60% of the time, the companies are very open for us to go outside of the domain. So, we are even going beyond the industry, forget going beyond the role. Nobody is saying, get us a CIO or don't get us a CIO. So, when we look at the mapping, we look at a good CEO, a CIO, we look at a good CMO, we could look at everybody who is good. Now, who is good? Beyond a very short job description, what does a CEO do? He is actually trying to understand the business that you are in. If Lou Gerstner could come from Nabisco and understand IBM, and there are enough and more examples like that. There are people who've made a switch from FMCG to telecom, many of them in the last 10 years. So what we look for is people who can make sense very quickly, who have a macro understanding of what the business is all about. I think Anuj just mentioned, and good CEOs actually talk like that, and it was interesting to listen to him. They do not talk about that I'm in the business of medical insurance or health insurance. They talk about I'm in the business of helping people achieve this. So do you understand what business you are in? Secondly, how good is your EQ? How well do you get along with people? Can you get work done from people? So all these are areas where technology or technical skill is not coming in. Yes, you have to collaborate with marketing, and there is a digital footprint every company is having. Somebody is having 100%, somebody is having 90, 80, or it could be even 30, 40. So I think, and how do you build that trajectory? When I talk to CIOs who have moved up to the CEO value chain, a few things which a pattern emerges, which is very common. Again, something which Anuj just mentioned. I'm not talking about Pradeep because he's chosen the entrepreneurial route, and which is a different ballgame altogether. When you talk to successful people, one pattern which will emerge, they'll tell you, oh, you know what, I was very lucky to get this. I was very lucky I was in this. He just talked about, I was very blessed. But if you listen to him carefully, he had said earlier that I had an option to be in BPO, and I had an option to be in insurance, and he picked and chose what he wanted to be in because he knew what he wants to do, what value he can add. He tried to understand the business value. So people like those, they actually take a lot of initiative. Let me explain this by way of an example. We picked up a CIO for a company, a pure play IT company. They were into product development, multiple areas. One of their very large product development unit was based out of Europe. And the intent was to move the entire group along with the development team, the customer support team, to India. And at that time, they just had heads of IT, but no CIO level person who could undertake this. We hired a CIO for them, and who started this entire process, jumped into the whole thing with a lot of enthusiasm and began this. A lot of knowledge transfer was involved. After, I think, 4 to 6 months, there was a unit head, the business unit head, a European, who was heading the business for that entire product, which was implemented at 2 clients, and he quit. Now, the intent was even to roll it out as a SaaS model and build more clients. Where does the company go? The CIO we had hired, he told me, I am up to it. I can take the country head role or the business unit head role, but I'm new in the company, but I can take up the challenge. We talked to the company. Believe me, regardless of the kind of company, regardless of the kind of CEO, regardless of the kind of pace at which they work, regardless of the politics or anything, the moment there is a gap and there is a person who steps up to it, that I want to take it, I'll be happy to take that role. Most of the CEOs are happy. I'm sure you'll agree. So the company agreed with him. He was given the role interim for 4 months. He did such a great job. It's been 1 year. He continues to be the business unit head. Now, these are ways in which, I think one of the best ways in which a CIO or any other person graduates in the company. We do not look at a CMO for a CEO role if he or she has been doing only marketing. We do not look at a CFO for that role if they've just been doing a CFO role. You have to expand your territory, and which goes beyond your technical knowledge. The good news is that, yes, the technical knowledge, because of the fact that you come from that background, it places you in a very, very enviable position today as one of the first people to be looked at. And if you have the strategic knowledge and the know-how and the business connect, probably you're the first choice.
So thank you, Venu. Like, you have given a very right perspective. So Anuj, I like to ask, how can CIO be a strategist? Can CIO be a strategist? How challenging it is?
All of strategy flows from a deep understanding of the profit and loss. Right? Your understanding of where do you get your revenue from, what can be your new lines of revenue, what are your cost patterns, Finally, that's what businesses are run for long-term sustainability, and long-term sustainability comes out of business being profitable. Right? In my view, it is the role of every employee within the company, irrespective of which function the individual works in, to have a clear understanding of where the revenue in this company comes from and where the cost lies in this company. I keep saying that even the role of a goalkeeper is first that the team wins and scores a goal on the other side. Right? So that is what strategy is about in my mind. Right? So every functional head, every leader must have a clear understanding of how they are influencing the profit and loss. In my view, a CIO is a business head and is no different from a sales head or a marketing head or an operations head and so on and so forth. If they actually look at their area of influence and every decision if they take as if they were running their own business. Right? Because there is no difference, honestly. For a person who runs a sales or does a sales role, should I pick up this deal or not? Should I spend time with this customer or not? Should I spend time with this distributor or not? What are the economics of this distributor? And it's the same at the CIO's level, right? Should I buy this technology or not? What are the different options available from a long-term total cost of ownership perspective? What does it mean for my organization? So on and so forth. There is no difference. So the moment, for me, that's where all of strategy lies. It's all in your head. Your ability to look at the way you're looking at your function, your understanding of the business, the consumer, how the consumer is going to evolve, how the business is going to evolve, and hence, what are the decisions I'm taking today, which in the long term will help me in my business. So that's what strategy flows. All of strategy flows from there. So in that sense, each one of us in the organization, every function in the organization is equal. Every function in the organization is equally important. And the CEO of the organization could come from any of the functions. It's all in the head of the individual, how he or she is looking at that specific role and how they are running that role.
All right. So very rightly said. Pradeep, taking this decision, role to the entrepreneur, you have taken, and you just gave a few minutes back some examples. So how difficult it was for you? You must be in a dilemma whether to take it, not to take it, because sometimes it comes. You achieve something in a life, and then you are looking for next level where you are looking some kind of innovation, right? Or something which where you see very satisfied, right? So how difficult it is?
Okay, I think before I answer this question, I would like to add one thing to your previous question. CIO can be a good strategist in a product company, because their innovation is the one which will drive your product, make it one up than the competition.
Right.
So probably for other company, Anuj, you are very right, but for IT product or services company where you can use technology as a media to deliver. Right. So there probably CIO has a better keenness and center of innovation head could be the right guy for a study. Coming back to your question, Kapil, I think it was a tough decision for any CIO to leave the job, a nicely gainfully paying job, and decide to be a venture in the market. So a lot of vendor who are after you, chasing you day in, day out, and now you are chasing them day in, day out. And it makes a very paradigm shift to your lifestyle also, okay?
Totally
because
agree.
Earlier those people who are talking to you, calling you, seeking the time, now you are calling them and seeking their time. But these are the challenges are there. Financial challenges are there. Sometimes your wife feels, boy, you are doing something very, very wrong. You shouldn't be doing it. You must be out of your mind.
Right.
So the biggest lack of strength comes from the wife and the kids, obviously. But then there is a way to look up at the life, because at some point of time, I can tell you, everybody sitting in this room, all my beloved CIOs, who are either maybe a little ahead of me or maybe a little behind of me or walking with me. At some point of time when most of the responsibilities are a little bit taken care of, you have slightly some fund in the bank also. You see, one way is a linear growth of life, where you can take just y equal to x graph. And another is the square growth, y equal to x square, where the graph goes like that. So at some point of time, you evaluate your risk versus your gain. And I very much love what Anuj said. In my life also, this is my second time I have done this decision. One time I started a dialer company in 2001, and we were very successful. But then after 4-5 years, market condition changed. So we are very lucky in one way. Suppose market conditions change, I can anyway. So I had a very good offer from Microsoft to be entire India IP TV head. So my business was not doing well. So like a coward, I just ran into the job. But now when I look back, I thought I made a mistake. I got scared. Life scares you. One has to take the challenge.
True.
And the one who takes the challenge, he is the victorious. So
True.
this is what I want to tell you. And the moment you are most scared, you should see and feel that this is the most important phase of your life. And that is the turning point. So now, this time when I am second time, I am again doing the same. I am very sure this time I will have enough courage and strength and blessing from all the people that it will not happen again. And I am sure it will help me to visualize things clearly and execute the thing. So it has a lot of challenges, and luckily in the earlier days when you do a venture, you don't have much fund available. But these days a lot of funding agencies are there. So when I say people, it is we are doing our own.
To be proper planned. And
yeah. So a lot of funding is also there. So what I was getting as a salary, my revenue because of some other funding is not less than similar kind of amount. Right. But at the same time, I am creating a valuation for my company, which will have much higher value. So I think these days it is less challenging, and some of you who really want to get some more helpful, I'm very again thankful to Interop. Right. I will be more than happy to help them, and if any query, I will be offline also will like to address that. Yeah.
So today is a lot of learning actually. What I see is like a lot of takeaway from this panel. So we are running short of time, so let's open this conversation with the audience in case if anybody is interested to ask any question with us. So love to hear. Anybody like to ask anything? Or it's all okay? All right. So let's wrap up this session, and thanks. I'd like to thanks to audience. I'd like to thank to all the panelists. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.